Coming up on The Sporting Chef.
Today I'm cooking venison the fast and crispy way. Tiffany Haugen is going to show you how to put your venison in a can. We're going to learn from Tommy Gomes about prawns and shrimp, cook venison Southern style, and as always, my buddy.
What do you get when you find the best fish and game chefs? Cookbook authors, award winners, fishmongers, outdoor experts, and put them on the fastest half hour on outdoor television. Hosted by one of America's best-known wild game chefs, Scott Leysath, The Sporting Chef. Brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Welcome to The Sporting Chef. I'm Scott Leysath, and today on the show, I'm going to cook a crispy venison stir-fry. Now, with any stir-fry, of course, you have to make sure that everything is prepped ahead of time. You don't want to throw anything into the hot skillet or wok until everything is set up, everything is chopped. So before I go anywhere, I'm going to chop my vegetables. The critical part of stir-fry cooking also is that you're going to use high heat. So I'm going to use some very tender pieces out of the hind quarter of the venison that have been cubed up. They're going to be delicious. It's going to be crispy. And later on in the show, we're going to visit an Asian market where you're going to see some ingredients that you may not have ever seen before. Before we get to that Asian market in Rancho Cordova, California, we're going to head up to Oregon to meet Tiffany Haugen. Tiffany has a old-style, traditional process for how to preserve your venison. Check it out.
Canning isn't as popular in our generation, but it's a wonderful way to get fork tender meat every time. And it's super easy. I'm going to show you just how to do it yourself. For a raw pack, remove all fat and sinew. Next, we're going to cut it into 1 to 2 inch cubes. Just try to keep them nice and even. All right, next we're going to fill these sterilized jars, leaving about 1 inch of a headspace. We'll be filling 8 of these jars because that's what fits for one batch in our pressure canner. Now you don't want to pack this meat down. There may be a little bit of airspace and that's just fine. We've got all 8 jars full and we're just going to add a half a teaspoon of salt to each jar. You want to use non-iodized salt. The best is canning and pickling salt. Now we're ready for lids. These new lids have just been sterilized in hot water. I'm using this neat little canning gadget here that just keeps the lid process hands-free. And now the rings. These don't have to be new, but they do have to be cleaned. We're going to screw those on fairly firmly. Not as tight as you can, but they will loosen up a little bit in the canner. All right, it's time for the canner to do the work. Place the jars evenly. You don't want the glass to be touching. Secure the lid on the canner. One thing I like about this canner is it's a metal-to-metal seal, and you don't have to worry about an aging rubber seal. The canner has come to full temperature and steam has been escaping for 7 minutes. We're ready to put the 10-pound pressure weight on. Now you want to be checking that pressure gauge to maintain 10 pounds of pressure for 75 minutes. You can adjust your heat as needed, but try to keep it in that 10-pound range. Be sure to never let this number go over 15. The pressure has reached 0, so now it's safe to take the lid off. First thing we're going to do is remove the weight and unscrew the lid. Another great tool when canning is a jar lifter, and this allows us to reach in and safely grab those hot jars. Look at that venison, fully cooked and ready to eat. We can tighten this lid down just a little bit, and it's ready for shelf storage. The last thing I'll do is just check to make sure each jar sealed. If a jar doesn't seal, you can go ahead and eat that right away, or you can keep it in your refrigerator for up to 3 days. And canning meat is that easy. So with just a few pieces of equipment, we've got venison here that'll be shelf stable for years.
Now, canning meat might seem a little unusual to people who are not familiar with it, but it's been done for many, many years, especially with people who didn't have refrigeration or freezers. And by the way, Tiffany's family, they hunt, They fish, they process their own game. And if you go to the sportingchef.com website, you're going to learn a whole lot more about Tiffany, her cookbooks. Check it out. Okay, I've got my cubed venison that is soaking in sesame oil and some low sodium soy sauce. So I'm going to get the vegetables prepping. You want everything to be able to cook at approximately the same time. So I have thin cut carrots. The celery here will cook a little quicker, so I'll cut it a little bigger. And I've got some broccoli florets that are going into it too, and I've got some peppers. This is how you cut a pepper so that you don't have to worry about the seeds and the stems. You just kind of go around the outside here. What you have left is all the seeds with the stem end here, and by the way, the hottest part of that pepper is right here at the stem end. Now that's step one of the crunchy venison stir fry. Stick around, we're just getting started on The Sporting Chef. Welcome back to The Sporting Chef. I'm making crispy venison stir fry. Now, if you've been to a restaurant and you've seen crispy duck, crunchy whatever, frizzled who knows what, 9 times out of 10 that means it's been fried. There's oil, and usually there's some kind of coating on the outside of it. I'm going to take this venison here and I'm going to coat it with some seasoned flour. First I want to season it with some High Mountain venison rub, and I'm going to use some of the High Mountain Italian herb seasoning, which, you know, if that doesn't make sense for your Asian stir fry, well, it makes sense to me. Both of these have great flavors. And of course, you can check out High Mountain at any outdoor retailer or go to High Mountain Jerky, hightnjerky.com. I'm gonna take these cubed hunks of venison that have been soaking in soy sauce and sesame oil and give them a toss in flour. And while I'm dusting this venison with seasoned flour, I want you to take a look at Tommy Gomes, who's our in-house fish guy from San Diego. He's going to show you the difference between shrimp and prawns. At least that's the plan.
So the question is, what's the difference between a prawn and a shrimp? It's about 10 bucks a pound different. Hopping. Anyway, we'll move on with that. These are California spot prawns. These are harvested locally in a modified lobster trap, 900 to 1,500 feet deep. They're very nice. These are sought after around the world. High fat, very sweet. Remember, the deeper the shrimp, the higher the fat content because it's cold. Well, these are shrimp. This is a wild Mexican white shrimp, harvested in shallower waters by big nets that are dragged along the bottom and scooped up. What's the difference? Fat content, texture, and taste all play a part. We're going to just P&D this. Going to butterfly this one all the way. P&D means peel and devein. Want to take out the little vein right here that's real dark because it's full of unwanted fecal matter, if you will. The spot prawn we're going to take, I'm going to roll him over, and I'm just going to split him right down the center. I'm going to crack him open just like this, and I'm going to throw him on there just like that. We're going to eat the head. We're going to do all of that. We're just going to grill them up just like this. I'm going to put a little oil in there, a little bit more, get them cooking up. So again, the spot prawn, sought after in the Japanese markets. The head you can take and deep fry it. The tail is wonderful, full of fat. Again, full of fat, meaning you can only take this spot prawn to a certain point cooking it. After that, it mushes out because all the fat just takes over and mushes out. White shrimp, if you overcook these, obviously they become chewy. We have to go from there. Yeah, cooking that right up. There's nothing better than wild shrimp. Whether it's wild shrimp from the Gulf, wild shrimp from Mexico, wild shrimp is great. These farm-raised products that are coming out from faraway lands, really? I mean, really? black tiger shrimp raised in these ponds. There's the Mekong Delta with heavy metals flowing down it. And then when you get them, they come in a 2-pound bag, and there's a $20 word on there, like a trisodium polyphosphate. You don't want to eat that stuff. It's just my opinion, but you don't want to eat that stuff. What you want is you want a bag of shrimp or a block of shrimp that says 2 things, shrimp and water. That's it. There's no chemicals. I'd rather trust Mother Nature than a bunch of scientists with my food anyway. So you can see how these are cooking up. Nice and full. This one's still dancing, nice and fresh. We're gonna kick it off with a little high mountain trail dust. Squeeze a lemon on it. And we're gonna call it good. Wild shrimp coming out of the Baja. Great product. 2 things added into the box. Shrimp and water, nothing else. Local harvested spot prawn coming out of San Diego, Santa Barbara, all the way up to Alaska. This is what it is. Cook it right up. Flat grill, brought to you by Camp Chef. There we go, shrimp.
You know, Tommy has some pretty strong opinions about fish and shellfish, and I couldn't agree with him more. I've got my vegetables for the stir fry all chopped up. Now, the reason I have them in this bag is because I want you to consider the next time you go camping, doing all of your prep at home. Put it into a food saver bag and make it much smaller. It's going to make a lot less mess. You're going to have a lot more time to spend with your friends at camp. Make sure that you put a little label on it so that you know what it is that you prepared. You can imagine how much room that I've saved by making all of this smaller. And if you want to freeze these, you can use less ice, and it takes up a lot less room in your cooler. Now, how about a trip to the Asian market to see some unusual ingredients for your next stir fry? Asian markets, international markets, you know, they all have some, well, ingredients that you might not be familiar with. Or maybe you really don't want to be familiar with. I love finding new flavors and proteins. I mean, really, how bad could a ribbon fish taste? Welcome back to The Sporting Chef. I'm cooking crispy venison stir-fry that's also going to be a little bit sweet and a little bit spicy. Now, I've got hot oil here, which actually feels pretty good today on a cold day, and I've got my cubed venison hindquarter that's been dusted with flour that's been seasoned with High Mountain venison rub and Italian herb seasoning. I just want to get this brown on the outside to make it nice and crispy. This is just a neutral oil. You can use peanut oil, vegetable oil, it doesn't matter. As soon as it's brown, which is only going to take just a couple of minutes, I'm going to put it on some paper towels, and then I'm going to get all but just a little bit of the oil out of here. If you wanted to fry this in a separate Dutch oven, that would work well also. What's cool about these cast iron skillets is that they hold their heat as long as you don't put too much in all at once. And what you get with that flour on the outside is nice, crispy, crunchy exterior. And this is going to go back into the pan after I've cooked the vegetables. Okay, most of the oil's out. Here's the vegetables to get the stir fry ready. And while the stir fry is doing its thing, Stacy Harris is going to show us a stick to your ribs delicious southern venison recipe.
Scott, I know your roots are in the South. Well, mine are too, and I've been here for, well, my whole entire life. And so I'm gonna cook for you this great Southern dish. You're just gonna love it, and it's gonna stay in your home forever. I'm gonna bring some of this Southern cooking right into your home today. So this is how it's done. We got these sweet potatoes out of the garden. We got our oil up to about 325 degrees. Make sure that they're dry, because they'll brown a lot better if they're dry. This is how you make it crispy. This is the big trick. They go in at 325, and you keep them in there for about 5 minutes, bring them out, put them back in at 350 for about 2 minutes, and you'll have the crispiest potatoes to be as a bed for your venison. This is the venison hind quarter that one of my sons got, and I split it down the middle already, horizontally, to give it more surface area so that I had more flavoring for my spice rub. And I've already sprinkled it on it, but I'm gonna add a little bit more to it. And I'm just going to put that in my skillet and brown it on both sides, and then I'm gonna let it rest for about 5 minutes. I'm gonna get a little bit of oil and put it right in my hot pan, and I can see that it is already smoking hot. All right, take my meat over here and listen to it sizzle. I love that sound. Okay, I'm gonna cook it for about 3 minutes on the first side, and then probably I'm gonna turn it over and do 2 minutes on the other side, and it'll be just perfect. I made some gravy, and all you have to do, so simple, put a little bit of butter, a little bit of flour, some either chicken stock or beef stock. I did beef stock, put a little bit of soy sauce or Worcestershire sauce in it. You've got it made. Let it simmer, and it turns into a really great thick gravy. Time to flip the meat. Nothing sears meat like a cast iron skillet. You have to have one. It's time for me to get these off this grill. Okay, I'm gonna let that cool for about 5 to 10 minutes. All right, and it looks like the temperature's ready for our fries. We're gonna put them right in. This is the second go round. I'm gonna leave those in there for only about a minute or two, and then I'm gonna get them right out. All right, now I'm going to move over here and make the last thing, which is my fresh egg, okay? All right, watch this handiwork. Okay. Your family is not gonna know what to do. They're gonna want you to make this at least 3 times a week. I'm gonna put a little bit of my dry rub right on the fries. Our meat is ready to be cut, and I can't wait to see how good it looks. Always cut your meat across the grain, and you will not believe how wonderful and how tender it is. Now, it is time to plate this dish, and this is my favorite part. It all comes together now. I'm going to just use my hands and put my fries right on the plate. We're real rustic in the South, so I'm just going to put my meat anywhere and everywhere. Okay, I've got my gravy over here. I'm going to put that right over the top of the whole thing. Okay, my egg is ready. Plate it right on top. And now I'm going to top it with some of the onions that one of my kids just picked from the garden. And then I'm going to dig in, and I'm going to be stuffed and feel bad and know that I have to exercise double tomorrow. Little color, a little bit more flavor. And there you have it, the best Southern dish around. Smothered sweet potatoes topped with venison and a fresh egg.
That's the venison. So, while Stacy was doing her thing, I added some soy sauce, sesame oil, rice vinegar, agave nectar. That's going to be sweet and the sour. And then I've got some sriracha for hot sauce, a little bit of garlic, some sesame seeds. And I got to tell you, Stacy's smothered venison with all that crunchy sweet potato fries and gravy is every bit as good as it looks. And now here's Buddy T.
Well, here I am. It's Buddy T, and we're talking appetizers. We've got 3 different ones going here. Mushrooms were on sale, so it's time to fix up some party favorites here. You got to do something with these stems that you pull out of there, so I chop them all up, put some butter and lemon juice, my favorite seasoning, wildlife seasoning that is. Mix that all up with the breadcrumbs until it gets kind of sticky. Pack it into that mushroom cap. This one over here, that's some good whitefish. It don't matter as long as it's white and flaky. That's what you want to use, because it's going to kind of look like crab meat. And it's going to be smoked crab meat too, because I put it out on a pit. Got a good smoked flavor to it. Put it in a pot with some lemon juice, butter, some breadcrumbs. Use some of this crawfish and shrimp ball. Kind of gives it a crab flavor. Go ahead and put that in your mushroom caps. Third one here, this is some venison pan sausage and some pork link sausage. Put that in that food processor, grind them up, and mix that with some pan sausage that I had. You gotta have some kind of something to get it to stick together. So I happen to use coconut oil this time. Breadcrumbs, go ahead and put that in them mushroom caps. Well, that's all that I know about this for right now. Hope y'all enjoy it. Eat some and eat well.
Okay, I've learned a few things today. I learned from Tiffany Haugen all about canning venison, and I have never canned meat, but I'm gonna now. I have this here, the crispy, sweet and sour venison stir-fry, and you can get this recipe at sportingchef.com, along with Stacy Harris's recipe for her smothered sweet potato venison dish. You can find out more about Tommy and his prawns. And then, of course, there's Buddy. Can't forget Buddy. Lots of recipes. There's videos there. There's how-tos. You can get all of the cookbooks from the Sporting Chef Pros at sportingchef.com. I'm Scott Leysath, and I am going to enjoy a steaming hot plate of crispy venison stir-fry. I hope you try this one at home, and we'll see you next time.